Hi, Baz.
Hi, Jen, and hello, everyone.
All 40 people who are watching this.
Damn, we're up to 40 now?
Yeah, we average like 30 views on a video, 30 to 50 views on a
Whoa.
video. So I'm
Uh,
splitting the difference.
welcome back to the Drive Away podcast with Baz and Jen. Um,
I'm
we,
Baz.
I
That's
guess
Jen.
I'm Jen.
Yep.
We just got out of seeing Nuremberg, which was, I forget the director, but
James Vanderbilt.
it starred Rami Malek, I fear I don't know how his last name is
Malek,
pronounced.
I think.
Russell Crowe and Michael Shannon.
That was Russell Crowe?
Yes.
Yo, I didn't realize.
Yeah. So it was
It's about the Nuremberg trials.
but it takes like an hour and a half.
No, but
or of a 2.5 hour runtime to get there.
But it's the setup and it's how they get all their information. So it's about the Nuremberg trials because they couldn't have done the trial without all the information
I
from
feel
all the
like
psychiatry appointments.
to put in a very important note before we get further into this podcast was that this
Baz
movie
is anti-Semitic.
don't say that was that is not true. This movie was written and directed by the man who wrote The Amazing Spider-Man.
Oh, really?
Among other things, including Zodiac, and was a co-writer on Scream 5 and Scream 6.
Okay.
And also the Independence Day sequel. And a lot of the dialogue showed for that reason. It felt like the MCU-ification of history.
It kind of did. I quite liked the movie, I will say.
I thought it was solid. It was long.
Baz leaned over to me like 20 minutes in and said, "This is a very 2011 movie," and I completely understood.
It felt like I was watching a 2011 Marvel movie.
Yeah. I quite liked it. I think it was really solid. I remember I was like blown away by the opening shot. I thought it was like really pretty to look at and composed really nicely. And then they like slid down and it kind of ruined it a little bit for me personally. But and then I didn't think any of the rest of the cinematography was like super remarkable. Like it was fine, but like that opening shot was beautiful.
Yeah.
And then like I leaned over to Baz at some point and I was like, I always forget that I really like history and I'm really good at history. And Baz leans over to me and goes, movies like these make me remember that I'm really bad at history. So I think that's important to keep in mind when you hear Baz and my thoughts on this movie. I think I'm always really fascinated by this kind of thing. And I think that they like kept it informative enough while being still very entertaining. And like it was obviously there's some, dramatization or whatever, but like I think that it served as it did a really good job of relaying the historical facts and setting them up while still being satisfying in a storytelling sense. Like the protagonist and antagonist were very clearly defined, and then our deuteragonist, like all the roles made sense and worked. You can go in this third lane.
I need to get over.
Yeah. This is a drive away podcast. Baz is driving right now.
Yeah, I'd be driving.
But I think the way that it relayed the history while still being, a good storytelling piece is really difficult sometimes. A lot of biopics or like historical films struggle with that because they either make it too dramatized that it's a little stupid, or they just bog you down with so much historical fact that it doesn't become an engaging story and you'd get more out of it if you just watched a documentary. That's what my initial thought is. I have another point. I don't know if you read my Letterboxd review.
I did, yes.
Don't go into that. Let me go into it.
Well, I just want to add a precursor.
That's why I'm saying I want you to talk before we go to that standpoint.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I think it's not entirely my type of movie, and that's okay. Again, I do think it was very solid. I do think kind of the MCU-ification of it, or the Marvelification of it, kind of took out some of the more, can this engaging sorry, I'm doing
merging is difficult when you live in Massachusetts.
I think some of the Marvelification of the dialogue kind of took out more of the intriguing drama of, like, the history of what happened. I do really appreciate, as uncomfortable as it was, which is obviously intentional, the showing of actual Holocaust footage.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I was crying.
But there was some tonal inconsistency for me.
That's fair, yeah.
Just based with the dialogue versus the very serious historical happenings of it. And I think to that point, how, I guess, the court scene, the big court scene ended with, I'm going to call him Russell Crowe because I can't remember how they pronounce his last
Göring.
name. It felt like a little anticlimactic, but I wonder if that's just because in my brain I'm like, yeah, this is a Marvel movie. We're gonna have like a big thing. And like it was climactic, but
I get what Baz is saying, because there's no big like guilty verdicts in whatever. Like it ends with Göring like running himself into a hole basically and screwing himself over. But
wow, this traffic's brutal.
We the audience didn't get any setup because Justice Jackson, who's the prosecutor, America's prosecutor, gets a little rolled over by Göring and doesn't know what to say and can't solve himself. And then the British prosecutor, I forget his name, steps in.
It's Richard E. Which, yeah, by the way, a whole bunch of people in this cast who I did not know were in it that I was surprised when they showed up on screen. Richard E. Grant was the British prosecutor, which was a lovely surprise.
Yeah, and Richard Grant comes in and says, some stuff and then ends up trapping Göring, and it's a very crafty little legal maneuver, but I think that I can definitely see the anticlimacticness coming from it not being something we the audience are aware of, because you typically expect in like a courtroom movie that we're watching or in this case, deuteragonist, because our protagonist isn't a judge or a lawyer, so he can't speak in the courtroom. And we're watching our deuteragonist. You'd think that you'd be watching them set up this plan and like making little snipe after snipe and blah, 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 blah. And you get a 3-act structure of the battle through this courtroom, just via words. But then instead of, failing right before the climax, he just fails. And then we have our deuteragonist step in and solves the problem, which is like a little subversion, but it's not like we don't get a hammer comes down, they're guilty moment. But like the case is over already before they even have to get to that point. So there's no, I guess, reason to show the guilty verdict because they did the thing that got him there. We can just go to the executions, I think. So I can definitely see the note of it being anticlimactic though.
Yeah. And I mean, like, obviously it's based off of a historical thing that happened, and these things are not climactic in the way a piece of media is.
Yeah,
but it's in the sense of it being a movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
It just felt like there wasn't enough big oomph.
That's
at
fair.
The end.
I think I kind of liked that because I think that in the same way that I believe that this is gonna get rapidly political really quick here. I don't think that we should put the names of school shooters or political assassins in the newspaper because it sensationalizes them and makes them larger than life, and it makes them really big people, and it leaves a big stamp. And I think that I like that it just went, yeah, he screwed himself over, bye. And that was there was no big impact climax, because that's what a man like Göring would want. He wants to leave that, big proud mark on the world and his legacy, and it's just kind of yep, he screwed himself, shuffled under the rug. It's I kind of like that it took away that power from him in that moment, whereas a Marvel movie, because we've been comparing it to, would have like a last little line or some comment before the hero gets the final comeuppance, or not gets comeuppance, but delivers the final comeuppance. And I thought that was kind of powerful in its own way.
That's fair.
Anyways, now that I start the political tirade, this movie was so ridiculously anti-Trump. It wasn't even funny. Like to the point that I was praying, because there were so many boomers in the audience.
So we are both 22. We were the youngest people in the audience by about
50 years. 50 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Bunch of 60 to
including someone who, when the
80 years
when
old.
the movie started, took out his phone on
full brightness, full volume,
as two people who were coming in not late, they were coming right as they arrived, speaking at a loud volume. Oh, we're here just in time.
Yeah, these people didn't stop talking. Like, they had no etiquette in the movie theater. Like, they were not whispering at all. But regardless, I was praying. And I am a staunch atheist, and I was praying that it would cut to black at the end, and then it would do the thing that oh God, I forget his name.
Who?
Like Spike Lee, Black Klansman director. I think it's Spike Lee. Yeah.
Spike Lee. Yeah.
We'll go with that. I'm Googling it right now. Yeah, Spike Lee. That's Spike Lee.
That was
the
very
Black
white of us to not know that, by the way.
No, I knew it was either Spike Jonze or Spike Lee. I just didn't remember. But where it cuts to black and then it cuts to modern political footage that shows the exact fucking thing that they're talking, like, and it's ham-fisted, but like, we live in an age where if it's not ham-fisted, people are not gonna understand. And there's so many moments in that movie where, in even the entire end of the setup, with our protagonist, Kelly, he's going on and on about how it will happen again, and it will happen again. And just because you think that, they're not like, you think they're going to come out in scary suits and it's going to be obvious. No, it wasn't obvious in Germany. It's not obvious now when it's happening now.
Even when people are in scary suits.
And like, even there's blatantly a line there where he's like, you think that people in America wouldn't climb over the dead bodies of 50% of the population if it brought the other half of them to power? And like, yeah, okay, it's very ham-fisted, but I still don't think that a single person in that theater, except for Baz and I, understood
Rami
what they were
Malek
actually
acting
talking
his
about.
ass off in this movie, by the way.
Like, the metaphor there was so big that it was just like throwing itself in your face. And I don't think that it was enough. I don't think that it's going to change, because like, the primary audience for this is boomers. And I think that boomers are also the least media literate on a broad scale in the United States.
I think, especially to that point of it not being enough, there was some... I don't know how to explain this, so I need to talk about it to get it out.
That's what a podcast is for, baby.
There were some vibes throughout this movie that I don't think it was meant for us to sympathize with Göring. But in regards to, like, the connection between Dr. Kelley and Göring, especially with the end that's like, yeah, in the end, he committed suicide with cyanide the exact same way that Göring did. I'm like, this gives me a weird icky feeling for some reason.
Can I jump in here?
Almost. And it, like, no, I don't think it was, like, meant for, like, a sympathy thing. It just was like, I understand that it's saying that, like, everyone is human and they're just, like, humans who made these awful, terrible decisions. But I don't know. There was, like, a weird vibe I can't put my finger on.
I understand exactly what you're saying because I loved it. It was showing how charming and how, like, befriendable an absolute fucking monster could be, and how charming and befriendable Göring was, and how much, like, obviously Dr. Kelley was going in there with like the whole aim of manipulating him, not manipulating him, but getting as much information out of him, and the easiest way to do that is to become his friend as opposed to being an aggressor. And having that whole like game of cat and mouse going on. And I think that it did a brilliant job of making the audience feel ridiculously uncomfortable because it doesn't sympathize with Göring ever because we all know what he did, but it shows how you could sympathize, and it makes you feel these like, yeah, he's playing cards. He's a funny guy. He has his daughter like that he wants to show a magic trick. Like it humanizes him in the slightest of ways that show that therefore then goes ahead and like exemplifies how much of a monster he was, because he can play off being such a quote unquote nice guy, good dad, you know, a patriot to his country, blah 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 blah. And it shows him up as the charming con man that will get up there and speak to hundreds of thousands of people and somehow turn blatant atrocities into these powerful and good things for the country. Wink wink, nudge nudge, shove in your face. I really liked that choice in the movie, and I like they could have gone a full sympathetic route, but I really like that they didn't, and they did it just enough to make you feel really gross about the fact that you're like, man, I want Göring back on screen. I want to see what he and Rami Malek talk about.
No! Sorry, we're stuck behind a big old truck on a one-lane road.
Yeah, I think that the movie did a really great job in that way. I also, and as much as the political messaging was abundantly clear to people who aren't living in a hole, which the movie made a point to, you know, point out there. Like I think that it exuded a lot of subtlety in ways like I was just kind of talking about, but another way that I really really liked, and I'm sure was just a dramatization for the movie, but the character who's Rami Malek's translator, or the person, Howie, Sergeant Howie, Trust,
Triest, maybe?
he is Jewish. He's a Jewish German man, and he hid that he was Jewish, and he was the only person in his family to leave Germany before the war started, and he enlisted or tried to enlist as soon as he could, blah 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 blah. They had, and that was a secret that he told to Dr. Kelley, and he told him, you know, when he's been working with one of the Nazi high command Stryker, and he goes, and right before we hang him, I'm going to tell Stryker that, you know, he confided in a Jew all this time. And we then get to the scene, you know, at the very end of the movie when they're going to hang Stryker, and Stryker won't put his clothes on, and he's crying and freaking out in his room. And Howie comes in, and he's calms him down, and he puts his shirt on him, and he puts, you know, pants on him. And the whole time we're waiting for the shoe to drop that, you know, he's going to tell him, hey, I'm Jewish, you know, blah, 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 blah. Go fuck yourself. And the moment never comes, and he walks him into the court, or the room with the gallows. The moment never comes. He gets up on the stage. Moment never comes. We see close on Howie's face, and maybe he's gonna shout it out, maybe he's not, and he just sits there as Stryker makes an ass out of himself and cries and panics. And it's more powerful that we see him as the whimpering broken man than him spewing slurs and, you know, being angry over the fact that he's been deceived by a Jew. And I really liked that, and I really liked that it just ripped all of the power away from him, and ended up being way more of a, you know, fuck you than anything else, because that is the audience's last impression of this character that, you know, we're supposed to be afraid of or hate or whatever, and it's just a small little guy pissing himself when he dies. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, keep it going, because I gotta make this turn. This is a rough intersection.
This is our longest episode so far.
Wow, you've been yapping today.
I'm a yapper.
You have more thoughts than I do.
did not like Die My Love, but I liked this one. Yeah, I think it was I don't think it was a perfect movie by any means. I think that they could have gone um or ways that I would have done it differently as the expert filmmaker Oscar winner that I am, of course. Um but like I think that it did a really good job of telling a story while also being historically accurate, and it had some great moments of subtlety and the feelings that it evoked in you. And one of the most important things in art to me is if it can evoke any sort of feeling, hatred, whatever, or love, hatred, anger, sadness, any of those things, I think is a positive piece of art, whereas something that just makes you feel nothing kind of failed in its job, even if it's like the worst thing ever, and you hate it, it made you feel something. Um, so I think that this movie did a really good job of making the audience feel.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked for you. Not to undercut your point.
Not to undercut my point.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm always glad when people can find something in a movie that speaks to them in some way or another. Unless it's the substance, I fucking hate the substance.
Yeah, yeah. Baz
I
hates the substance. I hate After the Hunt.
wow, really? That's The Substance?
That's The Substance. I hate that movie.
Oh no.
I don't like Luca Guadagnino's
Anyways, this is
filmography.
off topic from Nuremberg.
This is off topic from Nuremberg. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Before I ask the question, of course.
It makes sense why Rami Malek is an Oscar winner. He was fantastic. Especially
I love the tone of his voice.
Especially the scene in the cell.
After they show the videos of the Holocaust, yeah.
That was incredible.
Fucking powerful.
Yeah, those are my final thoughts, I think. What about you? Final thoughts?
Yeah.
After yapping for however long?
I said as much as I wanted to say. I think that they needed to be more obvious with the metaphor for the boomers.
Yeah.
Because
I'll concur.
Wow, it is crazy that we are seeing, the start of these things again. Who would have thought? Oh boy. Yeah. Fuck ICE, fuck Donald Trump. Fuck the whole MAGA movement. Fuck them all. Fuck Project 2025. Now I'm gonna ask you what your Letterboxd review is.
Oh,
what is your Letterboxd rating? What's your thoughts?
I'm gonna give it a very respectable 3.5 out of 5.
It's very respectable.
And I'm in the moment where I have it with a like for now. The way that I think Jen and I both use the like or the heart on Letterboxd is just to say, like, if we would willingly rewatch it.
Yeah, like for me, it's like if I'd go out of my way to go see it again. Whereas, like, I can enjoy a movie like Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve. I will never watch that movie again because of how it made me feel so uncomfortable.
Sure.
Or like, I can't think of it, but like there are movies I would watch again if they were on the TV, but I wouldn't seek them out.
Yeah. So like it's a hesitant like for Nuremberg for now. Maybe not. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5.
I gave it a 4 stars and a big ol' like.
Nice.
I quite enjoyed this film. It was long. This is the longest episode of our podcast.
It was a long movie. That's another big detractor for me.
This is the longest episode of our podcast by 6 minutes.
Damn.
So
that's all you, baby.
I think that's fitting for how long the movie was.
On deck?
I think the next film we have on deck is Keeper,
which I'm so excited for. I'm a big Oz Perkins fan.
Potential guest appearances.
We'll see if they're willing.
We'll see.
And then after that we have The Running Man, and then after that we have The Carpenter's Son.
Hell yeah. A crazy run of movies.
A Jesus-themed horror movie starring Nicolas Cage and FKA Twigs.
Do you think that the messaging will be clear to the boomers now?
I doubt it.
All right. This has been the Drive Away Podcast.
Bye.